So both of you, one Democrat, one Republican, but neither of you is seen as extremist, if you will, right? People can decide what that means. Phil, and then Jeanette, same question, but with a different twist. Phil, is there really one Democratic Party, or is there a party with extremes? Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, the Senator Manchin from West Virginia, and then everyone else trying to figure out where they are. Are there really two parties that are not united on very much, Phil? And then trust me, Jeanette, there's a Republican/Trump party question coming. Go ahead, Phil.
Trump, Tea Party. I think that's what's great about the Democratic Party is we have an inclusive, all-inclusive tent. We have moderates, we have very liberal Democrats, and we come together and try to put the best Democratic platform forward.
Do you come together, Phil? Do you really come together, the Democrats? Listen, we don't know what's going to happen in Washington as we speak, but do you really believe Democrats of all stripes are coming together as opposed to fighting with each other constantly?
I think that's the problem with both parties, right? Do you think the moderate Republicans are going to come together with the Trump Tea Party Republicans? It's an issue that's facing. I mean, some people say 10, 15, 20 years from now, will we have three parties? Will we have a far left party, a far right party, and a moderate party? And then Jeanette and I may be in the same party at that point.
Phil, Jeanette, Phil makes a great point. The Democrats have this very large tent with a lot of debate and discussion and, frankly, disagreement. But the Republicans, in spite of what Phil Alagia just said, do you really have diversity in your party? Or with the Liz Cheney, I apologize, Congresswoman Cheney and so many others who are not even going to run again because they're moderates. Phil says they're moderate Republicans. They're like, there's no place for us in your party. Is there really a place in the Republican Party for someone like you, Jeanette, who's a moderate? Not a Trump.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay,
I think we need more moderates in the Republican Party. And I think, frankly, Joe Biden is the best thing to happen to the Republican Party. If you look what's going on in Washington, the higher taxes, people don't like what's happening with this Democratic Party on the Republican side. And I think that's kind of rallying the Republican base. Look, as a Republican, a lifelong Republican, I don't like to see, some of the things that happen in my party with the Trump rhetoric. And I think there's a lot of Republicans like me who, are disappointed in that. But, I'm not going anywhere. I know a lot of Republicans like me who aren't going anywhere. And I'll go back at Phil. Look, there's moderates like Josh Gottheimer who feel like there's no room for them in the Democratic
members of
Party.
Congress. Yeah, say that again. I interrupt you. Democratic members of Congress, part of the, I guess they call the problem solvers. We actually check out our interview with Congressman Gottheimer. You're saying he and Ocasio-Cortez can't fit in the same party? Is that what you're saying,
Yeah,
Jeanette?
I mean, he is getting so beat up for standing up for his constituents and not backing Nancy Pelosi's trillions of dollars in new taxes because he, wants to work with the Problem Solvers Caucus to come up with responsible solutions. There are very few moderates in Congress right now on the Republican side and the Democratic side. And I think that, frankly, has to change.
Phil, go ahead.
Same with Rodney Freelandheising, why he didn't run for re-election.
As a Republican moderate, correct?
Say that again?
As a Republican moderate in Congress, he said, no, I'm tapping out.
Correct.
What do you think that has to do with Trump?
I think because he realized in his district with what was going on, he couldn't win with the national Trump agenda.
So, Phil, wait a minute. There are members of Congress who are actually saying right now, particularly Republicans, I'm not running for re-election again, some of whom actually said that Joe Biden won the presidency and they would not stand for the January 6th insurrection. They would not challenge the results of the election. Some of them are not running, Jeanette and Phil, because they're afraid of violence against themselves or their family. That's politics in America, Jeanette?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a crazy time and some of them are not. But look, I'm hopeful coming into the midterms. It's a different world right now. Trump is not president. Biden is president. He has to own some of these crazy policies, some of these very socialist, very high tax policies. And I think it's going to be a different midterm cycle. Look, we don't know if President Trump is going to run again in 4 years. I think it's going to be a different ballgame.
Do you want him to run?
I frankly don't. I think it's time for a different change in leadership in the Republican Party. I'd like to see some other candidates run. So we'll see. But I think the midterms look good for Republicans. I think it's going to be a different direction. I think there's a lot to talk about.
Phil,
Hey, Steve,
go ahead.
There's a big difference. When we were younger, when you walked into a classroom and you said, what do you want to do for a living? there was a handful of boys and girls who'd raise their hand and say, I want to be president, I want to be congressman, I want to get involved. Right now, you don't have that anymore. You don't, it's no longer noble. It's no longer something that people want to do. And it's to the detriment of society. We're not getting our best and brightest. There's not civil discussion. There's no more. When you served in the assembly, they would all go to that steakhouse, Democrats and Republicans, and they would argue, but they would come together and compromise. It is going to be the detriment to the country if we can't figure out how to have a civil discussion on politics.
Hi, I'm Ira Robbins. At Valley, we believe in helping our local neighborhoods and improving the lives of everyone we serve. We work hard every day to make a difference for our employees, clients, and communities. That's why we're proud to support the programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Also brought to you by Holy Name. This place is different. Valley Bank. NJM Insurance Group, serving New Jersey's drivers, homeowners, and business owners for more than 100 years. Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856. Operating Engineers, Local 825. Fedway Associates, Inc. PSE&G, committed to providing safe, reliable energy now and in the future. IBEW Local 102, lighting the path, leading the way. And by Community Food Bank of New Jersey.